All right, you guys, welcome back to my channel and a hair tutorial. I'm so excited to be doing this today. So I am taking one of my clients and good friends who has been blonde for so long, a little bit darker. So she wants to do a Taylor Swift old money type of blonde. And I thought this was a great opportunity to do a YouTube tutorial because this is so requested right now and it's so trendy. So first we are going to be mixing up Blonde Me with 20 volume, and then I'm going to insert some footage of me mixing up the low light, and I was talking to my assistant and giving him instruction on what I was doing, and I included that audio because it gave the formulas, but just so you guys know, that's why I wasn't talking to the camera. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do one low light that's a little darker, and that's gonna be like our depth, and then mainly in the back, and then as we transition to the front, we want it to be a little bit lighter. So we're gonna do 6WG, 6GI, 7NB, 7GB, so 6s and 7s. And the GI is a gold iridescent, so it's more of just like a reflection. So I'm not gonna base it with this, I'm just doing about 10 grams of that to add a little bit. And then 6WG is gonna be, I'm gonna probably do equal parts of all three of these because that's the main tone I want. So I'm gonna do up to 25, so it'll be 15 grams of this. Okay, and then 7GB. I'll do the same thing, about 15 grams. So when I say I base a color, that's like the main formula that you're using. So if we're using all four of these, let's say I want 7NB to be my dominant tone, that's gonna be the base. So I would do like the most of this and then just like ribbons of everything else. In this situation, I want all three of these to be my base. So I'm doing 15 grams of each of those, so that's equal parts, and then I just did the 10 grams of this one. So now I'll do 7NB. And so these are all warm tones, but the 7NB's in there so it doesn't go too warm. So it's more of just like a neutrally beige. Okay, so that's 65 grams. So I'm gonna have you take this up to 125 with the gloss to gel. So for this one, let's do this brush, and we'll remember that the darker tone is the big bowl, and then our lighter tone is the small bowl. So then for the small bowl, I'm gonna do similar tones, just a little bit lighter. So we're gonna do a little bit of 9NB, just like 10 grams. So kind of like how we worked with the 6GI on this one, this is just kind of like a ribbon. And then I'm gonna do a little 8GG, and then a little 8GI, and then a little 7GB too, just to give it like a teeny bit of depth.
Colors look so good.
I know, it really does. It's my favorite, especially shades. It smells so good. So for a color like this one, we are mainly adding in depth and lowlights to break up her blonde and blend it in with her natural regrowth. And then we're also going to do some highlights mainly around the crown area and the face, just so that it doesn't look grown out. We want to bring those highlights up and then blend them in with the lowlights we're doing. So from this point down in the nape, I am doing a combination of lowlights and shadow lights. So that darker formula that we mixed up is going to be my lowlight. So any piece of hair that I am taking my formula all the way through the ends is a low light, and then a shadow light is where I'm going to take it about halfway down, and I'm actually going to combine my low light and my lighter low light, because I have two different formulas, and kind of blur them together and make it kind of like a teardrop shape, working down but ending to keep the ends out and keeping them brighter. And you'll see a little bit closer up as I do that, but that's what I'm going to be doing to make sure that this is as natural looking as possible and it doesn't look stripey. Okay, real quick, we're doing a shadow light where I'm kind of just taking it like halfway. This is my darker one right here. Then I'm gonna take my lighter one and do it right here. And you know how like you kind of want it to be like a natural progression?
Oh, yeah.
So we're starting this one higher up. This is the lighter one and then marrying it back into the low one. And then it's gonna be a light to dark transition right there, so it looks more natural. So as I work my way up the back of the head, we had it split into two sections and I'm just kind of pivoting left and right. And we're typically going to be doing about one low light to one shadow light on each side. And then once I get up to about the top of the crown in the back section, I change into just one section because the head gets a little smaller. And then that's when we're going to start implementing highlights as well. So once I get to that point, you'll kind of see what we do. Still doing low lights and shadow lights, but I threw in about 3 highlights to break it up a little bit. So you'll see here as I'm doing a shadow light, I kind of treat it as if you were toning and doing a root, a mid, and an end. So I have the darker formula there in the root, then I'm taking the lighter formula in the mid, and then we're keeping the ends out. And you can blur it with your brush and marry them together. And then just to ensure that there's not a harsh line, sometimes I take my comb and just kind of comb through it. And then I'm gonna put a foil on top so I don't move the product around. Now we're implementing some highlights just to break up that regrowth and make it so it doesn't look super stripy with all low lights. So I did about 2 to 3 back here in this section, alternating with the low lights and the shadow lights. And then I did end on a highlight. And that way I'm going to be making sure that I end in a highlight in every section. So here in the back and then towards the front when I do it as well. But then at the bowl, I can kind of use my root to blur that in and smudge it down. So I have her sectioned off on either side off of where she naturally parts her hair. I have a little triangle sectioned out for the money piece, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. But now I'm just working my way up the head on either side. I'm starting with a low light, then I do a shadow light, and I repeat that until I get to the crown area, and then I also throw in a highlight. So then after that, it would be low light, shadow light, highlight, low light, shadow light, highlight, finishing on a highlight. So now I have both sides done, and now we are working in this triangular piece. So this is something that I do for all of my money pieces because it is so easy to get a peekaboo highlight where it's more subtle or a more dramatic pop, just depending on what your client wants. But I started with highlights and I filled in either side of my triangle, and then I did one foil in the middle to meet them together. And then I'm just working my way back with as many highlights as I feel like I need to make this money piece look prominent. And then after that, I'm going to do shadow lights so that we have a little bit of depth falling over the highlight, and that's what's going to give it the appearance of a peekaboo money piece and make it not too stripy or bold. And especially since we're adding low lights into this hair, this part is so necessary so it doesn't look like a straight stripe in the front and then low lights in the rest of her hair. So adding in that depth is just as important as adding in the brightness around the face, because depth makes the brightness pop. We let her process for about 35 minutes, and now it's time to mix up the toners. So for the root, I am going to be doing 7NW, 7P equal parts with the gloss to gel. And then for the toner, I am doing equal parts of 8GG, 9AA, 9NW with the regular processing solution. And this is going to just be that perfect warm blonde without it being too warm, but we do need to fill it a little bit since she is so bright. And I'm so excited to see how this all looks together. So we're just going through here and rooting basically everything. This is going to help enhance her natural, but also blend in the lowlights and the highlights that we did. And I am just applying it with a brush, taking it a couple inches down, and then taking my metal bristle brush and blending it all together. I also use a comb too, just kind of depending on how I feel. I like to switch off kind of. So then I am just working my way up the head, doing this same thing. And then we're going to wait till we get to the front, do that very last. And around the front, I usually just tap a little bit. I don't extend it down as far as I did in the back, and then we are going to apply the toner. We let this toner sit about 10 minutes, and then it was time to rinse, and now we are blow drying her, and this color turned out so good. This is the perfect tone for someone who is maybe kind of sick of the brighter blonde. I'm not gonna lie, it's going out of trend. A lot of people are adding in dimension and depth and warmth, and this is perfect for a blonde that wants to do that, but is really afraid to let go of their blonde. This added the perfect amount of depth, but also gave her that blonde feeling without being so high maintenance, and that's what she was looking for. She's a busy mom. She works, and she needed something a little more low maintenance. And honestly, I feel like colors like this just complement the skin tone better. Having depth and dimension and adding some of your natural back in always just looks really good. So I'm a big fan of this color. Let me know if this tutorial helped you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.